How do everyone, and welcome back to Royville Reads. My name is Stefan. So a while back, my wife and I did a book haul about just a number of books that we got when we went to like this special place in Michigan that we really liked, and so Lowry's bookstore. And so I got a few books. Well, I've read one of them, and it was one of the ones here. It's the double book. So I thought I'd talk about it. I was gonna do this weird thing where I did like two reviews and then but I'm just gonna do the review. I did really like this concept of these two smaller books because you can kind of get the idea of two individual stories and two writers and how they write. This is the first book. This is Tor Double number 1. And I'm saying that the Arthur C. Clarke, A Meeting with Medusa, is probably the first book to read because it says Tor Double on this side and then the skin on the other side. So I'm gonna say that this is the first, and this is the smaller of the two stories. This story is only 60 some pages, 67 pages, but it was the one I liked the most. So it starts, I think it's supposed to be kind of like 100 years in the future. It starts with a captain of basically a dirigible, like kind of a Zeppelin, like the Hindenburg. Well, it goes down and huge accident, huge crash, and then it picks up after that with him being the sole person to go on this like rocket mission into the Jupiter, into Jupiter, basically to kind of go as low into Jupiter as any normal human has ever gone before. I thought that was really cool. It was quick enough that it made it interesting when they were describing the exploration stuff. It wasn't kind of bogged down with a bunch of minutia. It was a very quick read through. I could have probably read it in an afternoon. However, I only read a little bit and then I do other things, but I could have only read it probably in an afternoon. And I like space exploration. It definitely fills a niche for me. He does the meeting with the Medusa is he encounters something that kind of a first contact situation. I don't want to give too much of it away, but let's just say that, like Texas, everything's bigger in Jupiter. And so that was really cool. And then you come to find out at the end of it that there was a special reason he was chosen to be the astronaut on this special mission. And I don't want to ruin it for you. I definitely think you should try to find this and read the story. It's really fun. But let's just say the end or the beginning of the story, definitely there is a tie to that crash of the dirigible and what happens to him and how he ends up. I'm probably giving too much of it away, but no, I really enjoyed Arthur C. Clarke, A Meeting with Medusa. I thought it was a great, great quick read and thoroughly enjoyed it. So the second book that I read here was Kim Stanley Robinson's Green Mars. This is the longer story. It is not too much longer, but it is 113 pages. And I've always been interested in Kim Stanley Robinson's Mars books. I think there's Red Mars, Green Mars. Sorry. It's either Red Mars, Blue Mars, Green Mars, or Red Mars, green Mars, blue Mars, because like red Mars, then they start terraforming. So there's green Mars and then blue Mars. I think, but I've always been really interested in that because I love space exploration and stuff. So I was super excited. There, Kim Stanley Robinson does have a book called Green Mars, and I was like, is this? I wonder if this is like an excerpt of it, or just another random short story. I'm not exactly sure, but I will say that I did not get into this story. It was very, very hard for me to read. It took me it was only 100 some pages, and it took me probably about a week to read it just because I kept picking it up, reading a few pages, and then I would put it back down again. The main crux of the story is that this politician he's done being a politician, and so they're all living on Mars, and he gets on this expedition, this mountain climbing expedition up Mons Olympus, which great. I'm on board with that, but my gosh, it got into the minutia of like the whole story is, and then they went up a couple places to get to, or a couple feet or whatever, and then they had to put the pinions in, and then they had to go back down to base camp 4, and then they were getting all their stuff and bringing it up to base camp 3, and just over and over and over again. Like seriously, the book probably could have been the story probably could have been 30 pages. And I really wonder if if this is an excerpt from Green Mars, because it makes me not want to read this book. I'm sure it was well written. I'm not saying it wasn't well written. It did not hold my interest in the slightest. Now that being said, there were a few things I found really interesting. For example, the main character is, I forgot, see, that's even how much Roger Claiborne. So Roger Claiborne is like 300 years old. So, which is also really weird if it's only like 100. It has, actually, I just thought of that. That's kind of weird. So, it had to have been more than 100 years in the future. But he's like 300 years old, and he has this thing where he has kind of this photographic memory. Everything, he has all of his memories. And other people that are old, that age in the book don't. So, like, for example, one of the other main characters, a somewhat love interest for Roger, had been a love interest for him when they were in their 20s, and when he was becoming a professor or at a school, and she had no recollection of it, did not even know who he was at the time. And so that was really interesting to me. I wish they could have explored that a little bit more. He was a member of the Red Mars Party as opposed to the Green Mars Party. And he was very, very upset about all of the terraforming because he thought that it was destroying the pureness of Mars, the endless oceans of sand, and how beautiful it was. And there was a scene where he talks about how he had this like euphoric moment, this transcendent moment when he was out by himself one day. And that was really interesting to me. And and I thought I wish he would have explored, or I wish the writer, I honestly, I should have, once again, I never do these with any real like research. I honestly don't know if Kim Stanley Robinson, Stanley, so him, but I thought that was really interesting. I wish they would have kind of gotten into that a little bit more. He does, like I said, have a love interest that kind of blossoms through the story, but also it seems like it's kind of tacked on because he spends too much time going over what happens when you climb up a mountain. Like, honestly, I really wonder if Kim Stanley Robinson is a climbing enthusiast or what, because it was almost like when people talk about Moby Dick, about how there's just too much about whaling. You really got to love whaling to like Moby Dick. You really got to like climbing to be interested in this story. So yeah, there were some. So I guess to wrap up, this one was really cool. Really enjoyed it. Loved kind of the space exploration mission part. There's a twist at the end, and I don't want to spoil it. I probably already spoiled too much of it. Definitely read this one. Loved it. This one had a lot of cool concepts, which I wish would have been more explored. However, it was too bogged down in the minutiae of rock climbing. And not to say that's not fun, but I'd rather be doing it than reading about it. And for 113 pages, that could have been like 20 pages of the story. So this one's kind of a down tick. This is an up tick. All right. That is my review. My first review of a Tor double. I have 2 more of these. I might try to pick up some more too, because they were not saying, yes, it took me longer to read that one, but these are really quick reads if you're into it. So that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope makes you want to kind of find these double books, these double mass market paperbacks. And until next time, keep reading. Thanks, everybody.